welcome to our conversation today, brought to you by UNCDF and Startup Uganda. And as part of the theme for Women's Day, we are looking to discuss about the confluence of gender equality in the context of climate change, and especially nowadays with the growing use of digital technologies. And so with me is a wonderful team of female leaders who are going to be sharing some of the experiences and the role their organization is contributing towards this cause. And starting with Juliet Grace Luwede, we can start off with the introductions, and then we will get into the discussion. Good morning, Juliet.
Good morning. Thank you very much. My name is Juliet Grace Luwede, as introduced. I am the Eastern Africa Regional Coordinator for the African Youth Initiative on Climate Change. What that means is I get to work with 19 countries, not only Uganda, but 19 countries within the Eastern region.
Thank you, Juliet Grace. And next to Juliet, we have Barbara Birungi Mutabazi. Barbara, I would like to know more about you, what you're doing.
Yeah, my name is Barbara Birungi Mutabazi. I'm a co-founder and managing director of Women in Technology Uganda, and our role is to support women by closing the technological gender gap so that we can improve the lives of women and girls across Uganda.
Thank you, Barbara. And not least, we have Allen Arinaitwe. Hello, Allen.
Hi, Ronald. How are you? My name is Allen Arinaitwe. I'm a programs director with Hive Collab. Hive Collab is one of those organizations that have been around for the last 10 years, 10 plus years, and we are about scaling ideas with positive social impact. We support entrepreneurs across the country, in Bara, in Kampala, and also in the northern region in Lira. We have a base there. So we're just about supporting entrepreneurs, and one of the things that some of the areas that we support are in agri-tech, in med-tech, in gov-tech. We also support in edu-tech. So we're just around, those are the thematic areas that we support, and we're really excited to be part of this show.
Thank you. And those are areas that are very pertinent for development, like ag-tech. And in fact, maybe that could be a place we start, because one of the IPCC reports that came out last year on climate change was essentially pointing to a future where, for example, droughts are longer, rainfall patterns are more unpredictable, and even rainfall amounts are destructive sometimes. So I think that ag-tech or agriculture may be a good place to start, because we know in Uganda, close to 80% of the population is engaged in agriculture, and within that population, majority women. So some statistics show that 88% are women, and then 78 men. So you see that any changes in the climate disproportionately, affect women. So Juliet Grace, that would be a nice place to learn about African Youth Initiative on Climate Change. What is it about, and what are some of the initiatives you're undertaking to alleviate some of these challenges, especially for women?
Thank you, Ronald. So the African Youth Initiative on Climate Change is currently in 42 African countries. How the movement started is we're at UNEP, that's in Nairobi, for a conference, the United Nations Environment Assembly, and representation of African young people was really low. Like literally, you could tell the black people in the room where, but the black young people in the room where. So we decided to organize ourselves and form a movement that allows us to collectively share our experiences and our knowledge as African young people, so that even our voices get added onto the voices of the young people from the global south who are able to afford a plane tickets, are able to also come down and attend such meetings. And with that, so our key areas of focus are, like Arinaitwe mentioned, agribusiness. In as much as women are in this space, even young people are actually innovating in this space. So how do we support the young people in the agribusiness space to actually also be accounted for, but then also have their innovations showcased? The other thematic area that we work on is advocacy. Yes, IPCC report is very scientific, but how do we break down the language of the IPCC report so that even the farmers at the grassroots understand what that report, the science there are in. The other area is tree planting and ecological. Most times when people hear activism, they're thinking, oh, those guys are planting trees. But then also with tree planting, we have to be very intentional about the kind of trees that we plant. Not plant a tree for the sake of planting, trying to cover up space, but are they carbon absorbers? Do they produce food at the same time? Is Barbara able to go to her tree and pick her fruit and feed her family? By the end of the day, what are the benefits of these trees that we are planting? So we always encourage, even when you're planting trees, what kind of trees are you going to plant? Recycling, there's a lot of plastic waste in our environment and in our communities, but what are we doing about it? So we encourage a lot of recycling, renewable energies, just saying no cutting down of trees, but my mother is used to firewood and charcoal. So how do I encourage her to transition from the firewood and the charcoal to let's say gas, but can she even afford gas? Oh, there's an alternative which is briquettes, which is more affordable than gas. So how do I encourage that transition? So that's also another thematic area that we're working on.
It's nice that you're touching on the cooking part, because that's quite energy intense. And if you only focus, for example, on the production of more oxygen with tree planting, how about this aspect of cooking and all that? So it's interesting that there's also this area where you're working on cooking fuel.
But then also with all this, we are looking at action for empowerment, because it's easy for me to tell you about climate change, how it's real and how it's in our space, but am I educating you about it? Because with climate action for empowerment, that means I'll teach about climate change, I'll teach about renewable energies, I'll teach about all these other alternatives. So I empower you to be able to take action, but at the same time to also change how you've been working on it. Mindset change is very important.
And related to that, I'm curious, how do you, as African, as the initiative for youth on climate change, how do you get this message across? Like, it's very hard, especially nowadays with COVID and all that, but how do you do some trainings? Do you have some field activities? How do women access some of this knowledge about, for example, this variety of tree, maybe like avocado or mangoes, may be more beneficial for planting?
So like I said, we are in 42 African countries. That means we have to connect, and I can't be flying to Nairobi every now and then. That's a lot of carbon I'm emitting every time I take that flight. So we've been able to embrace working online digitally. So even before COVID, for us, Zoom was our office. So we would always meet online just to share what we are doing in our community. But then we also have focal points. We have a Ugandan focal point whose work is really to rally the Ugandan youth and the Ugandan communities to work together. So we go into communities and do a lot of capacity building on the different thematic areas.
Which are some of these communities, like in Uganda?
So we work mostly with university students, organize youth-led organizations, but then also now we've been also able to pivot into the Ministry of Water and Environment and then with development partners, because they're the decision makers, they're the ones that hold that. Yes, so we've been able to pivot into the policy aspect of how do we also as young people influence for policy, future policy changes.
And I think you've embraced the young part in the organization, the African youth component. And so you touched, which is makes me think about some of the work Hive Collab is doing, and I would like to ask Allen about that. You touched on the cycle, on reducing waste and having a cyclical processing within the organization where waste is converted maybe to some form of value or other products. And recently I heard about some of the work with Hive Collab is doing around investing in businesses that can prove it's such a cycle. So this side, in addition, maybe you could also describe what are some of the initiatives you're doing, especially around the area of digital and agriculture.
So Hive Collab has a partnership with some organizations, IKEA Foundation, and we have also OFAMS and BOP Inc. And this is really touching Uganda. The heart of Uganda is really food, it's agriculture. Because now we found out that in Uganda, everybody's okay. Like we said, 80% is really about agriculture. But most of the food that we produce, when it goes to the market, today Barbara will be selling tomatoes, but in the evening they'll have gone bad, maybe because nobody actually picked them up, or even someone stepped on them, or there are those not so perfect tomatoes that a high class person that I want to take. Where do they go after the market? So either someone will, if you're in the agri-circular business that we're talking about, someone will get them and maybe make ketchup out of them and sell the ketchup. And that's what we really want to promote. We don't want to promote any wastage anymore. You see, we have pineapples every season coming up, or even mangoes, and you find them smashed everywhere, or even milk in Barra. When my father gets the milk and maybe Fresh Dairy is not taking it up anymore, or maybe it's a rainy season and there's milk flooding everywhere. Trust me, they pour milk on the road, or even just give it to calves to drink it again. So there's so much wastage going on, yet we have areas in Uganda where people don't even have food at all. So you're thinking there's no balance, so what can we do to change that cycle in our communities, in our society, in Uganda as a whole? And we are the food basket of the East African whole market, So this partnership we have is to make sure that everything that is in the food value chain is actually being turned around for our good. It's not no wastage, zero wastage. And this is trying to get like what super technologies are around. So the partners that we have are supporting us with that. They're giving us food experts in different areas, giving us some funding to support those entrepreneurs that have come up and said, I'm going to pick up these tomatoes, I'm going to pick up these pineapples and maybe make pineapple jam, but maybe I can only do a small scale for Kampala, but how can I do it at a large scale and export it? And this is really going to turn around the economy and also give people jobs, because we are tired of coming out of school and looking for jobs. We want to support the government.
So there are new entrepreneurial opportunities emerging because someone will take care of this additional recycling or adding value and processing. And this is a recent initiative that Hive Collab is doing. But more broadly, what have you seen in the area of, recently, especially with COVID, a lot of digital technologies have emerged, and especially focusing on the agriculture space, trying to add value, whether it's extension and things like that. So within the Hive Collab family of entrepreneurs, what are some of those that come to mind?
So we have some entrepreneurs that have been our babies and have actually, we really pride ourselves in their growth, having been part of our journey. One of them is Nsibuko, who you've actually funded recently, $1 million, and we're really so proud of them, and you guys for actually picking them up. They've been in this
They recently also got impact investment, I think from Scandinavian investors. So and then the other is AgroSupply, who are also being picked up by UNDP. So we really want to thank you on that regard. But some of the things that they have done that we really pride ourselves in is especially on climate change, but also trying to go in the agriculture space is making sure, you see, we have a number of VSLs in the villages that are actually managed and governed by women, and 60% of them have actually excelled because they have leadership of women, because women have better saving culture, Now those VSLs, and they pay their debts very well and in time. So these are the village savings and loans associations.
Yes.
So what role does technology add to these women groups?
So one of the things that the startups that we work with have done through that is that they get the technology that helps them understand that I can use, how do they call it? I can use a better variety of crops.
So agro-advisory services.
Yes, and then also we have women who cannot actually read or write. So even when you send them a text, they will not even understand that this text was maybe from MTN, or it was from UNDP, or maybe AgroSupply. So the artificial intelligence system that they have deployed, and actually some are also in the process of being deployed, is that it can read actually the message for you and in your language. So think about it, that maybe I'm Acholi, and then it's going to read that message and tell me, Alan,
How is your child?
Oh my God, it's so terrible.
I know, I was waiting to hear her say.
No, I can say no, and it will say, and then season yamate neza kuhinduketi. That's in Runyankole. Tell me that the season of the male.
So essentially, it's overcoming the literacy barrier.
Yes, yes, and also one thing we've realized from statistics is that from the research that we've done is that out of 100,000 maybe messages sent out to all these suppliers, only maybe 1,000 of them will actually read the message. So just to make sure that no message is being lost, no information gap is being realized. This message will be automatically read to me, and if I'm in the kitchen maybe cooking, it will tell me and I'll be alerted. And the other major thing, is on the climate is that we want to make sure that our farmers have insurance. Yes. So AgroSupply has come up with this system where it will come measure your land, and then it will tell you by the virtue of the distance of your land, this is how much insurance you can take up, and this is how you're going to pay it. And
crop insurance against like drought.
Yes, and compensation.
So that's interesting because it helps them to de-risk.
Yes.
At least, of course, we know that the compensation, the payout, may not be as high as the yield potential, but it's something that can, for example, cushion.
Perfect.
But that raises a question I had for Barbara, which is around, from what I hear, indeed technology is helping women either on the finance side and also on the climate resilience component. But a lot of these technologies don't have women behind them. So as women in technology Uganda, what are you doing to advance women-led? Because we know this country is very rich with women technologists who can develop solutions even more intuitive because they are themselves women. So I'm curious to know about women in technology Uganda and some of the work that you're doing to balance that. Let me use Alan's language.
Thank you, Ronald. One of the things that we are doing is understanding women and where the challenges are. I think before you bring anything onto the table, you need to first understand why. Because most times we sit in offices in Kampala and wherever, we're like, women are not growing better varieties of crops. We need to develop an app and ensure that they get this information. So if you go down into that village with your background information of they don't have this, I need to provide this, probably. But let me first go and understand what are the real challenges in there. Why are these women not doing this? Because when you go deeper and do a bit of research, you'll understand that the challenge is, yes, part of it is the access to the information, but there's so many other challenges, especially social challenges that women face that may limit them, even if you give them the brand new phone and you provide the internet and whatever it is, and maybe they won't use it. So understanding women and co-creating a solution. See, Ronald, if you come to me and tell me, you know what, your problem is this is the solution you need, I might use it. But if you come to me and ask me, what's your challenge? And I tell you this is the challenge that I'm facing, and you ask me, how do you think we can solve it? Well, I've had this technology thing, but I don't even know how to use it. I don't even think I can use it. What would make you use it? Well, X, Y, and Z would have to be in place for you to be able to use it. Can we build this together? Do you think we can use it? Like, I don't know how to build. If you build, maybe I'll test. Okay, let me do the building and let's do the testing. But it's also important that it's woman to woman coming together. Because somehow if I'm a woman speaking to a woman, or a woman is speaking to me, there's that sense in you that this one understands that when I say, you know what, it's not just about this technology, it's also Munange, this man, that I'll instantly click and be like, is he refusing you to? Yes, you've understood it. So I can afford the phone, but I can't buy it because I know he will either take it or he will think this. So, and even in there, the solutions are with the women. So going deep down in there to understand that is the first place. And also building their capacity. Most times when we are doing these innovation calls and challenges and all, there is no specific emphasis put on we are looking for women innovators. And so you realize that when you look at a pool, for example, we just did a call recently and we got over 100 applications and we were saying, okay, how many women actually applied? And there were very few women. So there's need for deliberate actions that specifically target women. Some of the challenges also look at finance. When you look at women's access to finance, banks, we've worked with banks in the past when we are supporting women entrepreneurs, even just in normal agriculture that has nothing to do with technology, and people are saying, they have to first be in a group. But if I've started my business and maybe we are just 2 people and you're saying we have to be in a group of 10, as a woman entrepreneur with my partner, we're wondering, how are these other 8 people going to help? So you find situations where people partner up just for the sake of getting finance. But then it's not going to build the business. So understanding and creating specific incentives that allow women to innovate, giving them the tools, the resources, and the liberty to be able to create. But we also need to engage men. That is something else that we have learned. If you want women to adopt technology for climate change, involve the men. They need to, when you were speaking at the beginning, you said Uganda has over 80% in agriculture, and then you said majority of those are women. They're also men. Now those women have men in their lives. When you're engaging a woman and telling her, okay, now we're going to do a digital literacy training, we want you, there's this amazing app by AgroSupply, it's going to help you, tell you what variety of crop to use for this that will be drought resistant, or to tell you that now the rains are going to change, it won't come in March, it will now come in Jan, so those changes, you need to involve the husband so that he also understands the value of how this is going to help the family as a whole to grow. But also for the woman to understand what challenges might come with this technology so that she can mitigate them before they even happen. You need to still be submissive to your husband. You know your husband better than anyone. What are those things that will make him not want you to have a phone? And how do you tweak it so that he will be excited about you having a phone? So we need to do a lot of sensitization, both men and women, and also engage women in the decision making, even right at policy level. Let not men just sit and make decisions for us. No, we want to be at that table. Bring that farmer woman and ask her what her challenges are before you bring her a new brand of maize, which will be very good for her. But she needs to understand the stem of it and why this is happening and how it helps her and her future.
I mean, that's kind of like very key for the beginning, to have like the solutions designed with the challenges, otherwise then they fail to take off. But I also wanted to ask about, in addition to like the solutions being developed with the, the fancy word is human-centered design, I'm avoiding it, but with the idea, with the community that is being designed for, and there are quite a number of solutions that can be designed outside of this environment and then they don't speak to that need. I'm also curious on the developer side, in addition to finance, what do you think will trigger more visibility for women technologists who have these solutions? And as you mentioned, because just by their gender and interaction with their clients, they have developed more intuitive, client-centered products. So finance is one, as you've touched on. What else do you think needs to be done to see these technologies emerge?
Visibility. Deliberately creating the visibility for the businesses.
Yeah.
So let's say Ministry of Agriculture is doing something. Specifically call out those women innovators to come and talk about what they are doing. If it's TV airtime, give it to them. If it's that visibility is one of the key things that are missing. It's not that women innovators are not there. They are. But because of community and society and social backgrounds and how we have been brought up as women, we are not naturally out there to put ourselves in the limelight. So we need to have that canal.
So these blanket calls need to sometimes be a bit more specific.
Yes.
And they need to tap, like for example, there is like as you've mentioned, women in technology in Uganda, and such a body could be tapped into to like expose more, because it's one thing to announce, but accessing is quite another.
Yes, because gender inequality is still a huge challenge for us, despite the many talks and efforts that we are putting in as the world actually to this. It's still a big problem. So we need to still give it its due importance when we are making these calls. Say specifically 40%, 50% is going to women innovators. If you put out a call and you get 1,000,
intentional
about those calls.
Because
and even the support that is coming out, be intentional about it and say, we are looking for women innovators who are doing this, and this is what we want to do. We've understood your challenges. One of them is access to finance. We want to give you the finance, but we don't want to just give you the finance. We also want to give you the capacity to be able to build. So if the capacity is in actual technical skill, i.e. developing,
or cloud storage, or
provide it,
all those
give them the tools that they need to be able to innovate.
And in a sense, it goes back to what you mentioned, that as the technologists are designing around the challenges the woman is facing, the development community and the different stakeholders also need to design programs for women technologists to emerge around the challenges they are facing. So there are layers of the target population, the farmers, the female farmers, but also the developers,
the developer community,
who also have their unique, challenges
and issues. So even building on a network, really, creating a network of women innovators, women in business, so that they can share with each other. Sometimes you're building a business and you're thinking, that business is owned by a guy, that one is owned by a guy, what am I doing? But if you're in a community where women are building, there's that kind of uplift that you get that helps you know, I can actually do this. And not just in Uganda, but even out there in either the first world or whichever, where women have innovated and are building, and you create that kind of knowledge exchange between the women. There's that fire that is built that would help us propel.
Platforms, things like sharing servers, some of those things that can alleviate that. And I'm cognizant that we are left with only one last round of questions, and actually it's just under 5 minutes. But I wanted to use this chance to ask if you could pick a gap. So maybe, let me start with Juliet Grace. So currently in the work, in the amazing work that AIC is doing around, youth climate response, what do you see as maybe one major gap which, if addressed, can help your organization scale in the 19 countries that you're looking after?
So Barbara mentioned the issue of finance, and climate finance is really one we are still grappling with, but then also not just access to the money, but then also when you get the money, what do you do with the money? So there is you giving me the money, yes, well done,
thank you.
But how do I actually allocate
operationalize that?
Yes, because as young people we easily get excited. Yes, the money is here, then I'll get my works done, but then I need that latest iPhone, I need that car, I need all these things that will make me stand out amongst my peers, but then also there's this thing that I'm so passionate about. So even when
it's a combination of like funding, but also capacity building.
Yes, so if you're giving me the money, also can you direct me?
Support me in a certain way.
So that this money, I don't have to always come back to you. So that
I've heard that before, where
that's what
some
we do.
Innovators have said that, okay, thanks, we got the money, but you left us. So this journey, walking the journey with
us, so that by the end of the day, it's not a thing of, yes, you've given me the money, but has the money actually done the work that it's paying for? Renata mentioned about food waste, and also COVID-19 hits. Cat trucks are stopped from going to the market. So as a farmer, I have a lot of food that's ready to go to the market, but I have no way of taking it to the market. So this food gets spoiled. So all these challenges were faced by farmers, but because of the digital age, I'm happy to say that many farmers were able to access markets, even from the confines of their homes. Many of us were able to sit back home and order for groceries, and all these are innovations that are being done by, and many a times we don't actually recognize, but actually by women as well. I think for me, one of the platforms that I appreciate, especially in the agriculture space, is Easier Greek. Women-led initiative, but then they are working with farmers at home. Access to finance, access to markets, access to actually agriculture inputs at the same time, but then also that knowledge gap that needs to be addressed. And again, Barbara mentioned, we shouldn't forget the men. It's my husband whose land title, the land title are in his name. In as much as I till this land day in, day out.
So that partnership
between our fathers and our husbands and brothers is very essential to the work that we do,
Yeah.
whatever spaces we're in.
Yeah, and I think that's great to touch on the aspect of, okay, there's the investment, there's the journey of capacity building,
Yeah.
but then there are all these different apps that are also plugging in, and some of them, as you mentioned, are women-led. You know, on the Hive Collab component, what do you see as, you know, focus areas for the future to see more inclusive? You know, Barbara has mentioned that there's this gap, you know, visibility, and, you know, what else, you know, if you could pick one gap that you see may be interesting for yourselves or other stakeholders to pursue?
I think really I'll go back to what she said. It's just the information gap. We have, this digital literacy needs to happen here. So we have people that, we have all these amazing apps. Let me tell you, just go to the Play Store and there's like everything going on. Or even someone will tell you, do you know this? And you have no clue yet. That's the immediate thing you really needed, yeah? So no one has a clue. Even let's say in Hive Collab, you find that we have many developers going on. Maybe this one is in this area,
And
this
the
one.
exposure.
Yes.
So maybe more, as you've mentioned, maybe more visibility, and that's
deliberate
something,
visibility.
That's something
Yes.
I also want to pose for Barbara as one of the final questions, being that as one of the women that have made a name in this space, in the technology space in the country, you must be feeling the burden of having more of yourselves, of yourself in this space. So what, again, what do you think will be some of your priority areas in the coming, you know, months?
Getting onto tables where decisions are being made.
Yeah.
So starting at national level when policies are being made, are they pro-women? Policies that are being made. So let's have women on the table. So for us, working with UNDP, people who have the power to say what we are feeling on our mind. So you see,
influence policy.
Yes, to influence policy. If you just walk in, you may not get listened to, but if you walk in with other people.
Yeah, because policy has this opportunity that, you know, it can unlock.
Yes, so advocating. So making sure it's inclusive. Whatever is being done, that women are at the center of it. Have women on those tables. For me, I think is one of the most important things. Because if we are telling our challenges, then the solutions will come much faster than if someone else is solving for us.
And I think you say that because you've seen the role policy can play in terms of being
making
a barrier
changes,
or being
just look at mobile money, for example, when that policy was made and how they realized, oh wait, we made a mistake, and also getting women, but also getting more women into technical development, more women in STEM as developers, as scientists, as mathematicians who can do analysis and be able to tell that, okay, given the prediction of what this, of how the climate has been, this is what we see coming, so that women are more informed of what's coming.
More STEM skills.
Yes, STEM skilling is very important also, yes.
Unfortunately, this conversation has just started, but I know that we'll have another chance to expand further on it. But I want to thank very much Juliet Grace Luwede from African Youth Initiative on Climate Change. I want to thank Barbara Birungi Mutabazi from Women in Technology Uganda, and Ali Narinaitwe from Hive Collab. Thank you very much for this insightful conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.